Okay with you, and just want to welcome you all to, can you believe it? It's Christmas. This year is nearly over. I can't. I had a kind of, I felt really quite emotional today. I think it's hit me today that the magnitude of that this year, and kind of the duality of all the good things that have happened, but all the bad things as well. So I think because things are slowing down now, isn't it? We're kind of coming to that end of stopping to work and having time to reflect. So the one thing that really cheered me up today is I was really looking forward to this group and seeing you all and, kind of sharing our little stories. So just kind of want to say thank you, thank you for having been so, faithful and loyal and joyful and interesting. And yeah, I think it's been a really nice journey, with you. So thank you very much. And I just wanted to, now open our show and tell and hand over to David, who is going to take a little step back to last time, which was what's on your mantelpiece. And then as well, David, if you're then moving on from the mantelpiece to the Christmas decoration and take us.
Yeah, well, seeing as I'm doing a double, I'll be very brief in my Christmas decoration, but I'll start off with my mantelpiece. This is a little wooden figurine of a ballet dancer, or ballet dancer, or what you want to call it, ballerina, from Cuba. And it's a wonderful memento of my visit there for the millennium. It also has certain poignancy as far as I'm concerned, because I did bring it back as a gift to my parents, and for many years it was on their mantelpiece, pride of place on their mantelpiece. It's been broken a few times because it was kind of flimsy. Parts came falling to pieces. My father has glued it all back together again, but unfortunately, of course, my parents have both passed away, so it kind of reminds me of them as well as Cuba. It came from a street stall in Old Havana, and they were selling sort of like lots of knickknacks and gifts and souvenirs. I suppose you'd call it folk art for the tourist trade. And there were hundreds and hundreds of like figurines and Afro-Cuban gods and goddesses and goodness or what else. But as it happened, a couple of days earlier, we'd visited the opera in Havana. And it was a very special occasion, I think, because it was the 40th year anniversary of the revolution. I don't know if you can remember the old Godfather 2, the New Year's celebrations in that film. Well, that's when it happened. That's when the revolution took place. And I'm not a great fan of ballet by any means, but and it seemed a strange thing to do, to go all the way there and then end up going to the ballet, and for a very, as I say, a very special occasion. I think it was rumoured that Fidel would be there, but I never saw him. If he was, perhaps, but I don't know. But I think the cream of the cultural elite, if you call it that, in Havana were there, and it was a grand time. I really enjoyed myself, and as I say, it's not something I would have chosen myself. It was just that a friend of mine's wife, Maria Cristina, noticed it and said, "Why don't you buy that? That looks a really nice little ornament." I hope you can see it okay. I think it was a wonderful occasion in so far as it was quite sort of like memorable, because I don't often go to a ballet or anything like that. And the finale in particular was very, very moving, I think, because it was a piece of music I've never heard before, but I've listened to since, and it was called A Night in the Tropics by Jean-Louis Moreau Gottschalk, an American composer, and it's a really quite a rousing piece. So I thought I might just play out with that one, just so you could all perhaps see it. Okay. There you go.
Okay, very nice. that was really uplifting. Made me want to dance. Excellent. Wow.
It's interesting, David, how you know, you've got an object there which you didn't really choose yourself. It was suggested to you.
Yeah.
You gave it away. It's come back to you. It's strange how an object which is of no significance originally becomes imbued or kind of develops a resonance or a relevance, over time and passage. And so how an object that's fairly ordinary or kind of, not significant at one time becomes very significant later in life. And it's quite interesting that, how objects not necessarily impactful to begin with, they reveal themselves slowly over time, which is, a very interesting concept, really. We don't always have to love something straight away, spend our lives with it, whether it's an object or an individual or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. That's
my wife's not here at the moment. So if she comes in, don't mention that. If she walks in, don't mention that. I never said that.
He's going to get hit on the head soon.
David, how many times I've been in your house? You know I went to a ballet dance school. You know I love ballet. You've never told me about that.
Well, I'm not, as I say, I'm not a ballet fiend or anything.
I know, but that was such an experience. I've heard loads of things about Cuba, my God, but never that.
Well, I don't know how we even got tickets because it was such a prestigious occasion. I suppose it was it was Maria Cristina, the wife of my friend, who happens to be Colombian, and they can do anything. They sort of wheedled their way through everything. So there you go.
David, when was it again that you went to Cuba? What year?
1999.
Okay.
Party like.
Wow. It doesn't seem a long time ago, but it is 21 years ago, isn't it? It's kind of mad.
Well, I mean, I recall when we were there, there was supposedly going to be a millennium bug, which would screw up all the communications in the world, which would have meant I probably had to he's stranded in Cuba, which sounds like a really good idea. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Besides, I'd run out of money anyway. So. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, thank you, David. That
Yes,
was definitely
you're
worth waiting for.
good. I'll just mention my Christmas object bar.
Mhm.
Again, it's another family heirloom. It's this.
Mm.
It's an icicle, not a real icicle. It's a plastic icicle,
Brilliant.
and I don't think it's the original, but it really reminds me of ones that my parents had when I was a kid that they used to put on a Christmas tree, and it just takes me right back, because it was one of their wonderful objects, and it's about the only thing I've got. Because I mean, Christmas decorations come and go. We buy new ones every year, but this one always sticks out. A memorable place. We've got two, in fact. Yeah, two plastic icicles.
They look like they should be glass. They look like they should be cut glass, isn't it? Almost, I could really.
I
wonder.
still see them now.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, these. Anyway, that's mine. Thanks.
I've never seen them, but I think I can really imagine them so nicely on a tree, set off against the green of the tree, and with the lights kind of reflecting probably off the cut plastic. I might hunt some down of those actually. Very nice.
When you are little, you think of them as being icicles.
Yeah. Amazing.
I think a lot of Victorians did similar things, but in glass, and very few of those survive. So that's why they're premium price at the moment. Because they're so fragile, very few survive. So that's why it shows a transition into the 1940s, 50s, where plastics came in and much more sustainable, and much more, longevity to them. Really, so
they remind me. I'm going to mention Gordon Buchanan again and the polar bears, but they went to examine the den that they'd been in, which was terrifying because you thought they might come back. But he went and sat in their den, and hanging from the thing were all these bits of hair from the polar bear as it went in and out. And they'd all become like that, like Christmas decorations. It was just unbelievably beautiful, but really it was just a practical thing. The hairs from the polar bear, and it just looked so beautiful, beautiful and dangerous.
Yeah, it's lovely. I'm definitely going to hunt some down. I want some glass icicles on my Christmas tree this year.
You can get a polar bear in. I thought you was going to get a polar bear in.
I've got a teenage daughter. They act like polar bears. I don't even know.
They eat like them as well.
They stunned them so they could put a collar to track the mother, and they stunned the baby polar bears as well, two little siblings. And Gordon Buchanan was holding them in his arms, and I just thought, God almighty, and he just couldn't put it down. You could tell, even though the cameraman was saying, you can put them down now. He was just making that moment last forever, because who gets to hold a polar bear?
Oh, thank you, David. Now, who wants to go next? Or shall I just pick? I've got Lisa really big on my screen, so I'm just going to pick Lisa.
Right. Basically, I've got a little selection of items again to show you, and they're all made by my children. So they're all, handmade at either nursery or at school, and like that one's made of dough, and that was made by my eldest when he was about 3 or 4 at nursery, and it kind of the decorations are kept in the garage in a box, and it kind of goes quite soft every year because it's so cold, and then when I bring it into the house it hardens up on the tree. So it's quite funny, and every year, you know, and it's still in quite good condition. And little reindeer made of pegs, and just little things that they've made for me. I've got some vintage glass baubles which I love, but these are completely irreplaceable and really delicate as well. But just because they made them, they're just really precious. So they are my favourite. And I've just got one more, which is this amazing fish that my son made in year 6. So it was just as he was in the last year at primary school, and it was in that'll be right, it was in the 2017. So I think a lot of the school children made fish for they decorated the hall with them. They did like a big net and had lots of fish in, and he just covered little bits of cardboard with silver foil. But it's now being adopted as a Christmas decoration because I just think it's really nice and shiny and sort of, so it goes away with the decorations and comes out every Christmas. But it's just really lovely, and it's just sponge and stapled at the back. So it's and it stayed at school actually for a couple of years after, because they kept the decorations up, and then after he left it made its way back to us through somebody else who's got one of their children's siblings. Their son was in the same year as my son, and then their sibling brought it home for Finn. So it was quite nice really how it came back, because he'd already left the school, and it just sort of, my friend dropped it round and said that they wanted to send them home. So it was quite nice. But that's it.
Oh, very nice. That is a very, very
nice little nice little conceptual trick there with the a fish made of sponge, absorbing water. It's kind of
yeah, I didn't think of that, but yeah, it's quite nice, isn't it?
What do the kids think of it?
Oh, they like it.
When they see it now?
Yeah, Finn really likes it. I mean, it's also quite well, it's not that fragile, this. So, it's quite good, whereas a lot of these are like really quite fragile. But obviously the teachers will have a lot of input. That's quite nice. It's got a little light up nose.
Like Pete.
Could have thinking to have something to eat post Brexit with that star. If things get
yeah, that's true. Yeah, if things get really bad. Yeah.
Oh, I admire your persistence in keeping all that stuff. Actually, I just had a bit of a bad mom moment here. I've got a few, but as you say, they're so fragile. They often just kind of
that is the
and
problem.
disintegrate, and then they sneakily land somewhere.
Yeah, I have lost a few on the way, but that's the majority. That's the ones that have.
It goes straight to my heart, Lisa, because mine's a bit like that. But I was a nursery school teacher and a reception class teacher, primary school teacher for a very long time, and the love and effort that goes into those things and the happiness about making stuff is really special. So to see you've kept all those, quite heartwarming.
Oh. It's their little, when they bring them home as well, they're really, really proud of them, aren't they? And it's really kind of, they're kind of really special because they've made them and brought them home to you. So they are, you know, like I say, irreplaceable, aren't they?
I got to a terrible stage where I was doing sort of supply in nurseries at one point, and I had to work in some quite difficult nurseries. I won't name any, but you would get very, very young parents coming in on mobile phones because it was the beginning of, you know, and you would be trying to explain to them as you took the child to the nursery door and said, here's mum, look what your child has made. And often they would be going, you know, it was the grandparents who were strangely enamored of the things that the grandchildren made. But there was some really heart-rending times when I saw mothers who were so young. I'm not blaming them. They didn't, you know, but they'd be on their mobile phones and they'd be going, come here, come here. And these beautiful little things that they'd put together were kind of almost discarded before they'd reached home, you know.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
kind of thing.
yeah.
That's lovely. It's really heartwarming.
Sorry. Oops. Oh, my friend from France. Never mind.
Oh.
Oh, they never ring, don't they? And then they ring at the most. Excellent. Oh, thank you, Lisa. That's been really, really lovely. Barney, do you have a Christmas decoration for us that you'd like to share with us? It's nice to have you here tonight for our last special one of 2020.
In a word, no. Reason, I'll tell you the reason. I mean, it's interesting because everyone here, you know, Christmas is about family, bottom end. And, you know, my family are elsewhere. And, you know, what's really funny, I mean, for one thing, Christmas for me, it's my mum's birthday, Christmas Day. So that's my straight away connect. And, you know, the one person who I do that connection with. But what's been interesting is through COVID, through this whole lockdown and everything, you know, I've forgotten how much of an early adopter, which is where I get it from, that she is. You know, she's been using WhatsApp and setting up groups from way before any one of us here on this round here at the moment. Do you know what I mean? She's 80 this year, and you know, and so I'm just sort of I do not have. What I do have is actually the fact that I often share and give presents throughout the year. You know, to me it's, you know, and it's about family connecting with people. So I've already received various gifts and things from friends who I've been sharing with anyway. So I just want to share those really. One is, and actually just to touch what you were just saying there, Julia, in relation to, you know, well, actually, I was thinking of, Lisa's, your kids making those, making those. I remember making an angel. You know, I remember making an angel. I remember making a fish as well, which is ongoing. But sorry.
Was that a sponge?
Say again.
Was that a sponge?
Oh, actually, no, it was wood.
Ah, well, behind the times.
It was wood. And of course, and also, well, importantly, the power of making. You know, the importance of the power of making. And, you know, during lockdown, one thing which I'm sure has touched everyone and has done is, you know, I mean, the repair shop. Hello, I've said it over and over again. I think that's been beautiful. Just, I never knew it. I've never seen it before until during lockdown. So anyway, I'll stop there. So first thing was, it's actually just a CD. And, you know, and the thing is receiving things in the post, it's so lovely. So just the fact of a CD landing, just saying thank you for a year of collaborations and what have you. And it's by a band called Broadcast, who, unfortunately, the lead singer, she passed away many years ago. They're very similar to, when you think, Stereolab. They're from Birmingham, these dudes. But it was just beautiful to receive that in the post. It just made me smile. I've been listening to it all day. The other thing was someone else working with me just said thank you again. It's all about thank yous, but it was just a Mayor Angelou, Basquiat.
Oh, wow.
And you notice I've opened all these things. This is what I'm saying. It's like, you know, I continually share daily. That's what life's about. So, you know, Christmas is that coming on Christmas Day itself. I will be come together with my family via the power of WhatsApp, actually, and other Zoom. What I'll say about it. And then one more thing is, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, that's from the beautiful human being by the name of Chris Chalkley, who runs the People's Republic of Stokes Croft. And it was him just saying thank you. Again, it was just thank you. I've done the same with different people at different points, but, you know, and we'll come together over this festive season to just share films, watch films together, natter. So, and just one more thing, I don't have a shelf and I don't have a mantelpiece. I thought I'd throw that in. It's weird. There's one shelf there, but then I've got a couple of old fridges that I use for books, and another. I don't have conventional shelves, or I don't have a mantle. Yeah.
You live in the flat that Chloe used to live in.
I was just about to say.
I've been thinking that, and I've been thinking about that flat, and I was thinking, no, there wasn't a fireplace. But knowing Chloe, she probably built one on.
Well, it's in the loft. It's in the loft.
Yeah, you can see it for miles.
Yeah, it doesn't have, because I remember when I saw the previous, sharing, show and tell, and I saw a mantelpiece, and I just thought, well, there isn't one here anyway.
Yeah, but Barney, it's metaphorical, and look at the wall behind you. That's even better than a mantelpiece.
Hey, you know what I'm like.
Also, don't forget, Barney, you might not have a mantelpiece or a shelf or, an object today, but you put on the best light display all year round through your gallery, through your window space there. And you put a light show on all year round. A lot of people just embellishing their homes for a couple of weeks maximum. You're doing it all year round, showcasing some of the best light work I've ever seen, really, locally. And so really, you're doing it for real, do you know what I mean? Not just as a amateur kind of temporary kind of celebration. It's an all year round with integrity. And that makes a massive difference, really.
Thank you very much. One more thing. David, Cuba, the ballerina, and I was just thinking what you were saying, Graham, in relation, well, basically, I have a particular object. It's when things, they just don't seem to ever want to leave you, even though you lose them and they come back. I've left them on a different continent and they come back. And it's just it's weird. It's a memory. It's a Kingston memory stick, which I've had. It was 4 gig. I bought it in about 2005. And it cost an arm and a leg then. And it's just this thing, I throw it away, it just keeps coming back. And then the beauty is I find it, and I'll find, a bit of data on there, which I completely forgot about, that I've missed. I'm like, oh, that's from 6 years ago, or that's it. I'll have another one, cheers.
Okay, sorry, did you say that was it?
Yeah, well.
Really? Oh my God.
No, there's other people.
Thank you, Barney. Thank you for.
Just there are other people on.
Yeah. Right, but I just want to say thank you, because I think this is really important to kind of bring in a different perspective to whatever is kind of suggested. It is about inclusivity, and we are all different, and it's nice to kind of see how things are celebrated differently. And Christmas, I totally agree with you. It's a time of sharing, it's a time of being together, it's a time of appreciation, but that shouldn't just be limited to this time. And I think this is where my reluctance always to kind of actually buying comes in, because I feel like, as soon as I have to, I don't actually want to. It's a weird thing. So I completely agree. It's about, it's something that we should spread throughout the year.
We've spent, we've spent, it's going to be beyond the year, you know, we've been locked down and we've been in this situation. And, you know, I mean, for me, the most important thing for me personally is I've just been making so many reconnections with family. And although, you know, I don't have children, I made that choice at the age of 23. And I metaphorically have hundreds, or, yeah, I have, it's ridiculous when I think about it, because I constantly am getting, you know, being touched by whoever, just saying, oh, how are you? Is it, you know, it's like it's my son, my daughter, them, they, you know, and we are a family as one. And so I am unconventional. That's the way it is.
Excellent. Thank you.
Nothing wrong with that.
Thanks for being like that. It's good. You know, we need to be expansive and look at different angles. It's brilliant. So, following on from this, who do I pick? Actually, Graham, you're really big on my screen. So, what about your show and tell Christmas special?
Well, I'll show you what I brought. I brought an interesting decoration from the 1930s, which is
wow,
wow, it's a sailor. What's good about him is that it's just a paper cardboard decoration from 1930s, and when you unplug it, you can dance.
Oh, that's brilliant!
And it becomes totally, you know, it's like a 1930s Christmas decoration as a sailor man, dancing sailor man. And I thought that was a really cool thing, you know, where an object can be transformed through its articulation. Really. So it's his card, yeah, just a card. And but you can see how that concertina thing has survived to the present day, where people are still making decorations like that. I mean, I'm kind of interested in the whole concept of, I guess, you know, Christmas decorating a house, you know, because it's for the first time, a lot of people, I'd say the vast majority of people, probably 90%, 95% of people, think of their interior in a different way to what they've thought about it for the last, you know, 50 weeks. They'll go 50 weeks with it just being a place to live in, where things come and go, exchange, swapped, worn out, recycled, something new comes in. And so things change incrementally, really, one thing at a time. What's interesting at Christmas is that the same people have like a kind of a head shop where they're all of a sudden become installation artists, where they start, you know, plastering things around, you know, all over the place in a very decorative, you know, kind of kitsch way in a way, where they just go mad. And it's the same person, but it needed a religious festival or a happening or a moment in time to behave like that. Then as soon as New Year comes, that's finished. It's gone. It's put away until the following year. I'm always amazed by that, really. So I always know that people have got that potential of creativity, but very rarely show it all year round. They just show it for a couple of weeks or a week, you know. And it always makes me laugh that you know, people just expose themselves slightly, the creativity slightly for a very small amount of time in the year. You know, I tend to do it the opposite. I tend to do it all year round, and during this time, I just kind of hide away. Really, I don't really, you know, to be quite honest, I don't really like it. You know, my wife can't understand it, but I can't really. I don't like Christmas trees and things new ornamentation going up. You know, when I've spent all year kind of trying to make it look really good, and all of a sudden it's hidden by other stuff, which I find a bit. I know I'm on the very periphery of, you know, people's behaviours, but. So I struggle with it, and we have arguments about we can't have that there in front of the walls, and we can't have that. You know, it just seems to me, you know, gilding the lily in a way, in a kitsch way. And so I'm strange like that, but I do try my best to.
I don't think you're at all strange. You're not at all strange. You want to have a chat with Roger about how he'd much prefer it if I didn't go completely crazy. I see it as a rest. Christmas, a rest. When I don't have to think about things and make them, I just take them out of boxes and throw them everywhere.
That's right.
You know,
it's going back to what Barney's saying. You know, I'm not just saying that as a, you know, it's something which is, you know, really important. The fact that he's putting on a light show all year round. You know, Hull City Council or Gould Council are putting up a light show for a week, 14 days. You know, and you know, we're all paying poll tax for that. Barney's putting that on through self-funding, and he's putting that show on, you know, in a way which is much more it's kind of a deeper kind of connection really with people, you know, kind of informing people about issues and situations. The thing with Christmas is it's a, you know, religious festival really, which I don't really feel any part of. I like the idea of giving. I love the idea of giving. I love the idea of family. And I do that all year round. You know, so I don't need a festival to do that kind of shit. Really, I just like. It isn't. Well, it was a pagan thing. It started off as a pagan thing and a Roman thing and a pagan thing. I mean, Marianne, you'll know more about it with the Christmas tree. About, you know, decorating the Christmas tree. That was a German, I believe, a Germanesque. That's who started. I think the whole idea of ornamentation, decorating a tree. Is that correct? Is that right? Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. But it is absolutely correct that it does go back to a pagan origin, isn't it? Like Celtic, but it even goes back to it's astrology, isn't it? It is because it is the darkest day. You know, the longest night as such, and so it's a celebration of light. And I'm kind of, I completely, I agree with you, Graham, and I think you're not strange. I have a real reluctance every year to kind of decorate and feel this pressure from the outside that's imposed on us. But I really like this time of reflection, this time of quietness, and I think that's something that goes back, you know, a really, really long time, way before kind of church and religion has taken over the festival and kind of made it their own, and way before, you know, commercial aspect came in, where all of a sudden we have to kind of buy tons of stuff for everybody rather than an acknowledgement. You know, when I was little, I think I got 5 presents at Christmas, you know, that was it. And I was really happy, you know, now. But so the Christmas tree back then was a celebration of, you know, the light coming back. So you bring something green into the house, to kind of an everlasting green. It's a symbol of life and kind of hope as well, because it is that darkest, longest night, you know, where you don't know what's going to come. So you bring that into the house as a symbol of hope, that things will become better, and the birth of light as well. It's because that's when light is born, and that's what Jesus kind of symbolizes, and Christianity, blah blah blah. So I find it really fascinating and interesting. But yeah,
I believe was it the Germans that started putting the candles on trees, and it caused lots of house fires over history, didn't it? Because it was quite a dangerous thing. But I believe they were the ones that started this whole idea of, you know, lighting up the world, like you say, like, you know, embellishing something to that degree.
Prince Albert sort of brought it over, wasn't it? The idea of the Christmas tree with the Victorian times.
Yeah.
Well, the royals
in fact, it was, I believe it was Coca-Cola who came up with the notion of, I think, the joint Santa Claus, which was, was that American or Father Christmas? Because one was they're different roles, I think, originally.
Yeah, well, that's St. Nicholas, which is usually 5th of December in kind of a lot of like Polish or German culture. So he comes on the 5th of December, and he kind of admonishes the children whether they've been good or bad. And he's got also, you know, that dark figure, Krampus. Do you know Krampus? So there's like St. Nicholas and Krampus, and you're absolutely terrified. Yeah. So but I think Coca-Cola, that kind of just moved that to Christmas.
Well, they commercialised, didn't they? Commercialised.
Red as well.
Kind of red suit. Originally, it was a green suit. I believe it was a green suit.
Yeah.
I think he became a red-suited giver of presents and giver of, you know, frivolity, and they marketed it as that, you know. And they've got, I think they even got the rights to it at one time. I think they had the rights to, you know, the Father Christmas image.
But Krampus is like the Black Peters, isn't it? He takes and puts the naughty children in the sack and takes them away.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you think about, because you still do get vestiges of the pagan stuff. Say in parts of Wales, they have the Marith Lloyd, which is like a horse's skull and a stick with a long white sheet, and that goes round the houses, you know. And that's had a bit of a comeback lately. That almost died out, but it's quite popular.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of nice traditions, isn't it, around this time? Like the 12 nights are really interesting as well, if you look at them, and they go back to pagan origins. But yeah, maybe, you know, there's such rich kind of discussion around kind of all the festivals. So
I think the thing is, I'm concerned really for a lot of people who, you know, suffer in austerity, especially, you know, more than ever at the moment, and yet, but still think of the year as, you know, save up money to buy the kids presents at the end of the year, you know, get themselves into debt and then repaying it. And I just think there's a different way of, you know, doing those things. Really, you don't need to, you know, give presents to show love for your kids or whatever. I just think it's something people should be thinking about all year round, really, not focusing on this thing about borrowing money to get into debt after Christmas. I think it's become such a commercial thing now, which it has hooked up so many millions of people, at the very lowest level of austerity. It's just I kind of worry about that, the way it's going, where we're going to end up.
Do not get me started on this, because it's one of them. I know.
Get started on it.
No, I'm just aware, but yeah, it's just, I find it obscene.
It is. But actually, just quickly, Graham, coming back, because I know it is, there's such a rich topic. So coming back to your actual decoration.
It's about creativity. It's about creativity. If it was about creativity, like the children taking home that concertina man, Graham, we made things with showing them how to fold and learning, and it was a joy. And it's slowly become this greed fest, which wasn't what it was about. It was about creativity and a time when it's dark and miserable, and singing and all the creative aspects of life. And that's what's that it's been hijacked.
Julie, you've identified exactly the reason why I chose that item, was because he's got absolutely fuck all to do with Christmas, really. He's a sailor. It's got nothing to do with Christmas. And but yet he has that Christmas he's a Christmas decoration, but he has all the things that you can identify as a Christmas decoration. So what I'm saying is, you can make those things and do those things and buy those things and give those things all year round. You don't need to be focused on this one couple of weeks a year where you have to feel like you do something a bit special or a bit out of the ordinary. It should just be human nature, to behave like that.
Can I just ask something though? So what's kind of the history behind having a concertina sailor? Because I find that quite...
I think it was just the way the paper was folded. That the way the paper's folded in like a helix, or some kind of, I think that was that, which took on that expanded paper, so things could be sent flat pack and then expanded. And that shock of the expansion was,
It reminds me though. Do you remember I might have got this wrong, but like the Jolly Sailors, that you put a penny in the machine, and they do a concertina. So it reminds me of that. And I've also been thinking of it, like compared to David's dancing figure, which is so tense and like the most extreme of positions. Like you can imagine your leg back there and bent back, and then Graham's floppy concertina person. So I quite like the contrast between the two figures. But the concertina reminds me of the Jolly Sailor Man, the Laughing Sailor Man, is it?
Yeah, great.
I was gonna say it kind of reminds you of like McGill postcard in a way. The face on it, the seaside.
It's kind of drunken sailor as well. Because another thing we do at Christmas is drink, and it's as well as the singing, wanting to be free and creative. People will suddenly dance or whatever when they've had a drink, and at Christmas they have a drink and they release their inhibitions. Or at least I do. Maybe everybody else does. Fine.
Oh, excellent.
Graham, that decoration reminded me, which I kind of forgot actually, that my nana had the majority of her decorations were all those paper, like bells, and all that were all flat, and they had like a little and they had like a little metal clip. And I remember helping her put them all around a house, and it's just so magical, like when they're flat and you just get them out of the bag, and then you just like, clip them together, and they're just beautiful, aren't they? And I absolutely love those, and the lanterns as well. She had loads of little paper lanterns, and they're so fragile, aren't they? Obviously, like I haven't got any of them left. But they are really lovely decorations.
I think a lot of decorations today kind of based on, you know, just interacting with the light or whatever, you know, whereas I think what they did then, they fully articulated, we've mentioned, yeah, kind of partnered up with time and movement and, you know, form and that kind of thing. So it made it more interesting, you know, much more kind of kinetic way of enjoying, you know, decoration. So I think, yeah, but I don't want to put a downer on it. It was just just a bit of a
No,
you know, I think because I'm doing this all year round, I don't really feel any great rush to kind of start changing things for kitsch, you know, when I'm trying to do it seriously all year round, really.
I did like your comment about how kind of it reveals kind of the everyday artist and kind of the wider public as well, and kind of the different styles and tempers, isn't it? Kind of, some are really classy, some are absolutely awful, but it's really interesting. I never looked at it like that.
We've all got creativity in us, but it's almost like we need a festival or we need something, a structure or an armature, a scaffold to kind of put it onto. We can't just do it, you know, people do it all year round. They're scared, you know, they'll walk across the road when they see Barney's thing, they walk across the road. But as soon as Christmas decorations are up in Hull, they're all flocking to it. Whereas when there's a really important light show on, you know, they kind of walk across the other side of the road. It's the same people, really. They're drawn to, you know, it's just like light display, but not really drawn to a cognitive kind of, you know, nourishment, as you would like to call it, all year round, which is where we should all be focused on, really, not just on, you know, festival stuff. You know, it's.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. So we better move on. That was really interesting. Actually, Jill, you're really big on my screen. If you want to kind of take over quickly, or not quickly.
So because I'm going to talk about my kids a bit, if they come, one of them comes in from work, I'm going to run in the other room. If that's okay. So this is my Christmas decoration. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
And it goes every year on a tree like this that we just have on our dining table. Okay. So before we met Tony and his kids, I was like a single mum with my 3 children for a good number of years. And one of the things that I liked about that time was that we made our own rules a lot of the time. So Christmas Day was a time when everyone else was cooking, and we'd have frozen, like Aunt Bessie's roast potatoes, Aunt Bessie's Yorkshire puddings, you know, everything was done so it would be quite simple, and then we can just get in front of the TV and not be like everyone else. Of course, now we do all the right cooking, but then we had our own rules. In fact, when it was like Sunday dinner on a normal weekend, we used to have it on Friday night, so we could just have sandwiches in front of the TV and not have to do washing up on Sunday. So I quite liked the anarchy of the time when I was just with them. Not that they're very anarchic now, they're more conventional than me now, but my slightly older boys used to set a nice emotional tempo in the house, really. And looking back, I think everyone like contributed a bit to the, you know, that they didn't like drain you. Do you know what I mean? Like kids did. They contributed to the happiness of the house, but not always. And there was one Christmas when everyone was arguing and driving me mad, basically. So I said to them, you've got to, right, stop arguing, stop running around the house, stop fighting. What you've got to do is, I gave them each little label, and I said, you've got to write something nice about everybody in the family, and then we'll put it on the tree. And the only one, unfortunately, I've got left is the one that Ellen did, and that's this one, and it says, dear Mummy, you are the bestest mum in the universe, loads of love, Ellen. So that's the only one that's remained. But the one that I can remember, because I remember thinking, oh my God, what are the boys going to say that's nice about each other? Because they were being not nice about each other at the time. What on earth will they write? And I remember that Michael wrote about Frankie, you make me laugh so much, my head will fall off and go bonk on the floor, or something like that. So, he managed to find something positive to say about his brother. So that's it, really. So a little yellow cardboard label, and we all had to write a nice message. Like I had to do one for each of them, and they had to do one for their other 2 siblings and me. And unfortunately, there's only one left, but it's like, also it was, I suppose I thought it was quite a good, like, how do you deal with rampaging children and you're on your own? And I thought it was quite a good creative way of coming out of that situation, other than sending them to bed or screaming at them or something. But having said that, they were really good kids. It was just probably a stir crazy day. So that's my little decoration, and we've still got it. And that's, I don't know, maybe Ellen was 5, I don't know, looking at that writing, or maybe a little bit older, and she's now 24, so it's a long time ago. And then we met Tony and we met his kids, and then we started doing things properly again. So I always think of that time when it was just us as being a bit out of the world and the rules. And I think I got away with that before one of them came back from work. So yeah, that's my little Christmas decoration.
Oh, Jill, that's amazing. And I'm kind of seeing a theme emerging here. You know, it's all about breaking rules, no conformity, you know, being a bit different. I really, really like it. That's brilliant. Excellent. Thank you.
Well, honestly, Marion, when they then grow up and get houses of their own and then tell you to take your shoes off, and I don't know, and I think, oh, you were the one that said we needn't get dressed till we went back to school on Monday. Oh, there he is now. I got away with that, Jess.
I think you are me. Use a poster. As poster, take your shoes off. Don't do that. Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. But I suppose it also is a thing, what Christmas is like when everyone else is, you know, the more normal family, so to speak, you know, what Christmas is like, and the pressure to achieve that.
Yeah. But it's about finding your own, I think it's, and this is what I'm seeing here as well, you know, it's about finding your own Christmas. It's about who each individual family is, and it needs to feel true and authentic.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really nice that, you know, this seems to be coming through here as well. It's, you know, there's courage and authenticity, and, you know, whichever form that takes is great. I think it's lovely, as long as there's love, and there's love at the heart of all of these conversations as well. That's really, really nice. Wow, brilliant. Any other thoughts by anybody? It's a lovely story. Lovely. Otherwise, we can, move on to Julia. Shall we have you next?
Yeah, okay. I'm afraid I'm chickening out again because I can't bear looking at myself, so I'm doing it as a kind of presentation thing, which means me finding it, does it come up? Can you see it? Roger, have I done the right thing? I can't believe I'm doing this.
Jill, how many kids have you got, actually?
I brought it up.
I've got 3 children and 2 stepchildren.
Okay. Excellent.
Oh, do I not do share screen?
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry. I'm an old. Right, have I got it now?
I think so.
Right, I can share it now, can I? Roger, I need to make it smaller, I think, because I can't.
What you got? Wow, that's brilliant. To get them. Yeah, come on, look on this TV. Come on, look on this TV so you can see. Right, now look.
Oh, my glasses.
You see all these people normally.
Okay. Is everybody?
What have you been doing?
Oh, look at you. Aren't you a peep? Hello, I'm going to talk about my little people, who are no longer little people. And I'm going to read it. I could relate stories about all 4 of our children read Christmas ornaments. Nick's black, that's my oldest, Nick's black snowman at nursery, made from the discarded bits other children left behind from their pre-made white snowman. or how Daniel, my second son, our second son, made exquisite labels for his parcels, or how every year in primary school, Owen, that's him, was chosen to be an angel because of his blonde curls, graduating to be the angel Gabriel, still requiring a tinsel halo to wear as he delivered his speech. He hated being the angel Gabriel. No, actually, he didn't mind being the angel Gabriel. He didn't like being the angel every year. But when he finally got to say something, he was quite happy. Right. However, as you are all familiar with Chloe and her artistic pursuits, I will tell you about Christmas in the doll's house. Each year, Roger would make our children wooden toys, ranging from tanks with all their gubbings, forts, Dutch barns, a large puppet theatre, and a number of beautiful doll's houses, one of which was disguised in a cupboard. The main reason for that was because by the time Chloe got to that kind of age where she shouldn't have really wanted a doll's house anymore, he hid it in a cupboard because she wanted one, but she didn't want anybody who came for a sleepover to see that she had a doll's house. So anyway, here's some pictures of the inside of one of them. That's the cupboard. And we used to buy pocket money toys that she would buy to fill it up. Anyway, and that's the living room. And that's actually a shop that Roger made, Chloe's General Stores. Chloe and Owen often made little films with the enormous video camera on loan from Roger's school. Sometimes with the assistance from older brothers, developing a stop frame technique, all quite beyond me. Some of them were quite bizarre. Chloe, who was very nimble with her fingers, made tiny props for the Christmas films with tiny strings of cards and paper chains and little Fimo toys for the doll's houses. The prop that I found recently in a box of oddments, not unlike yours, Lisa, was a small sewing book intended for the Doll's House General Store, which had a sewing room on the top floor. Alongside the fabric samples she made this little book, and there it is. I read it out to her the other day and she said, please don't read that out on Zoom. You will bore people to death. And I thought it was quite fascinating to me that she would make these miniature props. It appears that because Roger and I made stuff, our children followed suit. Our two older sons now make things with our grandchildren, who have developed the knack of making things by themselves. Our youngest granddaughter is in a school nativity, sign of the times, to be filmed and shown on Zoom. Her father, Daniel, who's an art teacher, told us she is now writing mile-long scripts for plays. She was 7 in November. I told him that she was a chip off the old block. Nick, my eldest, who is a robotics engineer, is also brilliant at making origami. And Owen works creating animations for a charity alongside his graphic work. As you can tell, I am obscenely proud of them all, even though they drive me mad. But I also found a decoration made by a child at the nursery I worked at, and that wishes Mrs. Roach a happy Christmas and have a good rest. My children also went to this nursery long before I worked there as a teacher. I often think of all the children who passed through my hands at St. Ninian's. To this day, I would practically break into a primary school to watch a nativity with all its homemade props and costumes. But this year, with so much theatre cancelled and no live audiences in school, that is not an option. And this is another Doll's House Roger made that was based on the Laura Ingalls Wilder stories, Little House on the Prairie, that Chloe was mad keen on at the time. And this is the shop and yet more of the insides of them. Creativity in schools and homes set children up for life. So long may it continue, making their own glorious ornaments from toilet rolls, bits of nature, plasticine, Fimo, clay, or whatever you can get in from the scrap store. It's all fabulous and very, very important. And there is an assortment of the same thing that Lisa was showing that I just grabbed and put on a Christmas tea cloth. There's actually a couple of my mum's things in there as well. But it's what we were talking about, making things. Did everybody hear that? Yep. Right.
Yeah.
How do I get rid of it? Stop. Oh, there I can. It's red. Yes, I can see it. Okay, that's my lot.
Oh, very, very nice. Very nice.
Julia, I'm sure you have come across it, but I've only in the last couple of years come across it, like the theory of loose parts play. Have you come across that? Loose parts play? Has anyone?
No, I haven't.
Oh, right. Well, it is really interesting. Have a look it up. But it's only just what you've been saying. It's by someone called Simon Nicholson, who was at the Open University, like trained in architecture, but art. So he was the son of Ben Nicholson and Barbara Hepworth.
Yeah.
And so he had a theory of loose parts play, that what children need is lots of things that are indeterminate, you know, so they haven't got an actual, it's not a doll in a pram, it's a piece of wood and a bit of string and then they give it its character and put it together in their own way rather than being given a predetermined object. And I won't be able to explain this very well, but he was also an architect, and he said that's a kind of model for the way that we should be able to be in our towns and cities. You know, there ought to be lots of things that we can then use, reconfigure and interpret in our own way, rather than being given things with you know, predetermined functions. Now, I haven't explained that very well, but I love this idea so much, so I have been writing about it you know, in one of my chapters, and and it also kind of explains what, like, quite a lot of architects are interested in designing play environments or playgrounds, and it's a kind of, I don't know if microcosm is the right word, but a smaller version of the world, if you know, or society, or an urban space or something. So just look it up, it's really, really interesting.
I will do, I've written it down.
Yeah, unfortunately he died quite young, Simon Nicholson. So I think there was a bit of tragedy there, but when I came across it, I did really like it, and I use it a lot now. I think it's a nice idea to play with, you know. Like he would say, everything, words, sounds, everything are things that we should be able to use and reconfigure and interpret and use them in our own ways, rather than just being given everything with a predetermined purpose or function. I just wondered if you'd had come across that.
No, because when I was teaching in nursery originally, and the nursery I mentioned, St Ninian's, was initially run by a woman who literally, you know, prescribed everything. And when Nick made that snowman, I remember she came, another teacher came out and said, "Look at what Nicholas has made." She said, "I know we're too prescribed." And they really were. And you were fighting a battle all the time not to do everything rote, not to do everything.
Okay.
And let children discover their own way of learning.
Yeah, yeah.
When Owen went to nursery, which was shortly after that I started working for them, and he'd left the nursery, but he one of the nursery teachers would tell me that she would sit on the floor and listen to him telling stories and everything. And she said, I'd forget what I was supposed to be doing.
Mm.
It was that leaving, I often say my mother healthily neglected me because she loved her garden. So I would be out making mud pies, and I built a church and a outhouse at the bottom of the garden, which was a step too far because she thought that was sacrilegious and she went mad at me. But I was, being neglected, it doesn't mean what it sounds like. If you're neglected but you're given the tools to play with things. And we've just found a huge trunk in the attic of Nick's electronics, unbelievable quantities of stuff that he used to buy at jumbo sale. He used to, I don't know where he got, I used to think he would blow the house up, but of course he's ended up being a robotics engineer. But I think creativity is so important for children. And I think I come across people who wouldn't let their children use crayons because they might make a mess. And actually I had a similar experience with my eldest son, the robotics engineer, whose wife didn't like water pencils because she made them go in the garden and use them because they might write on the furniture or something. We've still got writing on the furniture.
Can I just say, one thing, my mother, so I used to doodle all over the walls. And actually I picked up doodling off my dad because he would just, he would just doodle all over the papers, whatever you. But and so to what she did, which was genius, and it stayed with me, was the fact that she said, "Look, okay, see that bit there?
Yeah."
And she gave me this bit on the wall, and that was my world.
Yeah.
So she gave me the opportunity by saying, "Well, that's take that bit over." But because I would literally doodle left, right, and centre, and that's always stayed with me. That thing, and not suppressing. She didn't say, no, don't ever, because that's the worst thing you can do, Anyway, just remind me.
Good mum, a good mum.
I've got a husband who still doodles all over the house. So I had to do exactly, Barney, what your mom did, but to my husband, this is your wall.
Yeah.
Doodle on there as much as you want.
That's cool, it's like, still carry on. There.
But I kind of lift paintings off the wall and there's something behind the painting. It's I mean, honestly, it's better than wallpaper, to be honest. And that's what people used to do, isn't it? They used to decorate kind of walls by painting on them. So yeah, I think let creativity reign, definitely. Brilliant. Oh, thank you, Julia. Really, well-prepared presentation. I like the thought and energy that you put into it, and great doll's houses. God, I would have loved to have a Little House on the Prairie doll's house. Oh my God. My kind of, I don't know what it's shameful, but I think that program so much. So wonderful creativity in your family. And it's interesting, isn't it, how your children kind of live that now, or how it kind of comes out in different ways. And I think next one up is Roger, isn't it? I think, Roger? Would you like?
Am I actually? Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you actually see me?
And your beautiful curtains.
Okay, right. That's good. Yeah, like it's good. I'm just. Oop. What are these things? Right, have you got old Santa on the screen now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I couldn't. I was expecting to see him appear somewhere else. Okay, so that's old Santa who I decided to use. He seemed old when I first encountered him. On what a romanticised memory tells me was a snowy day back on a farm in South Wales, when winters always seemed colder, longer, and even darker. Since then, he hasn't failed to make his annual appearance every December. This year, he has shown up spectacularly early, and I can't think why. The trees that old Santa has seen the indignity of the wire and wood monstrosities of the 1950s, and many, many Norwegian spruces, which actually resembled their 1950s predecessors by the end of December, tree skeletons surrounded by the pile of shed needles, and more recently, the annoyingly smug Nordmans and Fraser firs. In his brief annual appearances, he captures a fleeting snapshot of what the world is up to, like Rod Taylor in the 1960 film version of H.G. Wells's Time Machine. He was up there on his gibbet-like perch in 1955 when Rosa Parks was arrested in Montgomery, Alabama, for daring to sit at the front of a bus. Still up there in 1988 when British and French tunnel engineers met under the Channel. From afar, he witnessed the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, and despite his blood-red coat, he didn't shed a tear. He didn't even flinch when Pan Am Flight 103 exploded over Lockerbie, or when John Lennon was gunned down outside the Dakota Hotel in New York City. Hardly surprising, I suppose, as he no longer has much of a recognizable face to show any emotion with, just a dirty smudge with two very sad black dots of eyes. A product, I suspect, of 1940s austerity. He's a simple plaster moulding with a not too careful application of red and black paint. Now battle-scarred, doubtlessly due to falls from various trees. The years of being wrapped and unwrapped and brushed by pine needles have taken their toll. He's eroding like the East Yorkshire coast. But he is a tradition, like some sort of holy relic. He provides a sense of continuity and reassurance. He provides a sense of continuity and reassurance that I have managed to survive yet another year, which is particularly appreciated in 2020. How much longer will he last? Will one of the children take him on? Will he finally suffer the fall that shatters him into smithereens? Or will he be an unnoticed victim of a house clearance? Only time will tell. It is my hope, of course, that he'll go on and on and on and end up a paintless, unidentifiable piece of white chalk hanging from somebody's virtual Christmas tree, a talking point, if nothing else. And that's it. Old Santa. So I don't know if anyone's going to add about that or not.
Sorry, I just realised I was mute. That was beautiful, Roger. Really, really nice.
I was clapping. I was doing that.
That was Welsh poets for you. That was a Welsh poet there.
That was good.
Yeah. Brilliant. You can't beat a traditional Santa Claus either, isn't it? There's just something about that, you know, that beautiful simplicity of a nice traditional Santa Claus, and that putting it into perspective of a time and how long he'll be around. I really like that kind of projecting into the future and the care, you kind of feel whether somebody's going to take him on. And I think that's often the thing about our personal belongings, isn't it? We feel kind of a certain responsibility for them and what will happen to them, as if they're kind of real things and as if they care. Do they care?
He's always handled with reverence.
Sorry?
He's always a reverend when you handle him. He comes out of the box and Julia hands him to me and says, "Here's your Santa." Yeah. And then I have to put him on the tree. But Julia usually does the tree or the actual decoration.
I've got to say, I was so there in that moment when you mentioned the time machine and the changing. I was there.
The shop window. That's the shop window, isn't it? It's so.
I remember the first time. I just remember the first time I saw that as a kid, and it's always stayed with me because I've always loved watching that version. Yeah,
it scared the shit out of me when I saw it because it was in the early '60s, and I think in 1966 the atomic satellite coming over, lasering everything, blowing everything up, and I thought, crumbs, just a couple of years before that.
No, it's brilliant that. So I've got to run. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone really quickly because I've got to go. I've got to jump somewhere else. But I wish everyone well, just have a good time, you know. And
Happy winter.
I'm gonna share something with you all. It'll be a WeTransfer, and it is a recording of Nina Simone in 1991 in Manchester. It's something that I'm working on at the moment. And it's a recording of her performance at a place in Manchester called Bingo Jesus, which I set up years ago. So I'm going to give that to everyone. So enjoy. But it's a brilliant recording, very special. She actually stayed and she loved it because she stayed and autographed. She just loved it. It was really quite mad, actually. But I'll be sharing that with everyone through this to enjoy over the Christmas, hopefully, wherever.
Oh,
Thank you, Barney.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing that, hearing it.
Cool. Hearing it. Bye.
That's my favourite. Take care, Barney.
Bye.
Bye bye. Excellent. Okay, well, you've all kind of had such brilliant things. I've picked a couple of things. I think it's always really, really difficult. Not different. Christmas decorations, I realise, and actually having listened to all of you, it's a very emotional time, no matter how we approach it, no matter, you know, what our opinions about it, but there is something special about that time, and there is that additional kind of weighting to everything. So anyway, what I've picked, I was looking at all my kids' decorations that have survived and live on, which is obviously kind of very, very special and nice. And then there are a couple of things. I love really old traditional baubles, and obviously all of the ones that I grew up with are either still in Germany or are broken, because if you probably all remember how fragile, I can't see myself, so I don't know whether you can see this. Hold on, I don't know, you know how fragile actually baubles used to be. Like, you know, you could hardly touch them and they would break, and there was always this kind of a real kind of pressure around, you know, when you hung them up, and always some would break or they broke in the box. And I found a box in the charity shop with just the most marvelous, amazing old baubles. So I kind of, although I'm not personally, I don't know their history, you know, I don't know where they've been, but they remind me of kind of those baubles of the past, you know, where you can see yourself in. And I don't know, I think there's something so special and beautiful about that kind of takes me back to the old times. And I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, nowadays I find Christmas has changed. For me in the past, it was just family coming together, unwrapping a few presents. It wasn't just even about the presents, it's about the singing and the food and everybody being there. So yeah, so I picked those two baubles, and then plus, because I'm not really into shiny things at all, and I hate the whole kind of glittery things. I like all the things made out of very natural materials. So most of my decorations are actually, it's like either felt or wood, and quite, yeah, basic. And I think that's kind of quite German. Most of the German decoration is more, you know, it's either wood, kind of wood stars, or felt, very little, what do you call it, you know, those kind of glitter garlands that usually are everywhere. So yeah, there isn't kind of that much history in any of these pieces, but it's kind of the context within which and what they mean to me and what they remind me of. And I think that's often time kind of Christmas is like that, isn't it? You kind of reconnect to the past and to who you are and where you're from. And I know that often spoke about that, like kind of that belonging and that place, and what we take with us when we live somewhere else, and what we find in those places, and how you recreate kind of I don't know how to call it. It's something that's rooted in the past, but evolves into something new, and that's very, very personal. And then it's nice for me to see, that's why the children come in as well. It's kind of rich bits of kind of your Christmas they take and make into their own, because, you know, there's just certain elements that all of a sudden become kind of their Christmas. So yeah, it's kind of, I think there's a nice theme here of making your own kind of Christmas, you know, kind of passing things on, taking things from the past, and kind of take that moment to reflect. And it's almost maybe we all just make our own very, very special Christmas bauble, you know, that's our very own unique, special thing. And I think, yeah, that's so nice about it.
think Black Friday must be the last nail in the coffin for that sort of idea of Christmas.
Yeah.
They finally, finished it off for people.
Yeah.
When it sort of became sort of organised in such a way that you're going to have a big kick-off, this massive binge of buy-in.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
It's interesting about the charity shop. Because I think when I was younger and I used to go into charity, I used to not where things had come from because I thought, oh wow, that is fantastic. When I was in my 20s and think I basically, just everything was secondhand clothes, everything. But now I look, I always feel a certain sadness when you see what looks like a home clearance actually, and you think these are people's precious memories.
Yeah.
And I've got various artists, for instance, who say, oh, well, it's all going in the skip eventually. and I always think, oh, because, but then it is, that is it. I mean, I couldn't keep all the things like you in Germany. I couldn't keep all the things that were in my mother's house when she had to go into a home. And it was heartbreaking. And my brother was chucking things into skips like nobody's business. And Roger was going, we cannot fit it any more in the car, Julia. But it was all sentimental stuff. But I don't think our kids are going to be that sentimental about, possibly Chloe. But, although having said that, Owen, I found a box in the attic of these Reboot figures from the Reboot program that was on. And he wanted those straight away. He said, that's my childhood, don't throw them away. And we dropped them off at his house. But it's kind of, what each person has as a memory is very personal, very...
Yeah.
And trying to get them in photographs, which is relevant to lockdown, to our Still Life group. You try to lock something into a photo albums, I probably need, I can't bring myself to just save them on a computer. And I look at them like my mother used to look at them, her photograph albums, and I've got hers as well. But it's, the memories of photographs are different because you don't, you remembering the argument they had on that day. Life isn't always big smiles and happiness and everybody laughing and being jolly. There's lots of other things as well, lots of emotional moments. And however much you look in photographs, they don't really hold that moment in the way that an object does, an object that you feel and touch. And I suppose that's why I make paintings and make art, because I feel there's something I need to capture, some moment or time or feeling or thought or idea.
I guess we're all kind of looking for affirmation, really, about the people that we are, in real time. So you look at something like Roger's Snowman, which is taken on, it looks the same, he's gone through all that turmoil, it looks similar, but he has gained knocks and scrapes and dirt and shit, from a lifetime of being unwrapped and wrapped and, put away and taken out, and messed about with. So he has taken on some detritus of, time. In the same way a photograph, we look back to a photograph and look for affirmation. And like Marianne's saying, where we look into a reflection in a mirror, we're always looking into mirrors. We look into mirrors all the time. We look into mirrors now, really. We see ourselves, talking. And I think we're looking for affirmation all the time. And sometimes, I think we need to look beyond the mirror, really, not just look at what we are in reflection, but what we do in our lives. And I think that's more important, really, that we're all the time looking in a mirror, thinking what we are. Well, really, we should be what we do, what we look like, not what we look like, what we do. And I think that's the important thing, you know, to all these objects that we've chosen tonight, not affirmations of our own existence, but really we should be looking outward, you know, into what we do with that knowledge and that kind of history and experience. You know, we should be taking that forward really, into looking into what we can do with it.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really beautiful thought, actually. And I think this is, I mean, the event originally is called Lockdown Reflections as well, isn't it? And show and tell is kind of an aspect of that. So it is nice, kind of that reflection, to reflect, but then actually see that bigger picture, what you've just illustrated, you know, not to just look at that reflection, but to see our bigger, kind of what we do. It's nice. Do you know, and on that note, and it's 7 o'clock, and it's, yeah, I just would like to thank everybody for their beautiful contributions. I thought today was really quite special. I don't know what it was. I think it really revealed another layer of, you know, our humanity and what makes this group special, and what makes kind of what comes out at Christmas, our uniqueness, you know, our breaking rules, non-conformity, but as well ultimately kind of, yeah, our humanity. So thank you very, very much. And I very much look forward and hope you come back in the new year for more Lockdown Still Lives reflections, because, I mean, I'm not sure what will happen then, but I'm sure we'll still be in some sort of down. And yeah.
Could I just let's thank you, Marianne, really, for orchestrating this whole event, really, of last,
yes,
you know,
absolutely.
all this last year, you know, which has really given us all the structure or something to focus on and focus our creativity on. So it's like, thank you really for everything you've done for us.
Very much.
You've made
without,
it, so it's you.
Without your idea, this would never have existed. We would never be able to, you know, kind of engage in this kind of manner, really, which has been you know, a beautiful thing. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Well, all the thanks back to you guys, and I wish I could give you all a big, massive hug, and one day, we can meet in person actually and do this. Anyway, so beautiful, and wishing you all a very, very Merry Christmas. But I mean, we'll all stay in touch, isn't it, over Facebook, and keep posting great pictures and nice insights and thoughts. And yeah, see you in the new year. Yeah, excellent. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. All the best, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good Christmas holiday.